Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. So Krishna is neutral in that he gives the information, but then he advises us to do what we wish to do. But what's the key word there before he says do what you wish to do? Deliberate. You should deliberate. Deliberate means in part to consider the consequences of one's actions. And oftentimes when we act without considering what the consequences might be, then we make missteps and we find ourselves getting an inordinate reaction or an adverse reaction for our work. So Krishna gives us a very clear schematic how the world works. He lays it out by explaining how there's three modalities that rule the world. There's one dead matter in the mode of ignorance, and there's energy, moving energy in the mode of rajas, and then there's light and wisdom in the mode of goodness. There's many ways to describe this, but it's best described, and it is described by Krishna throughout the Bhagavad Gita in the way that it manifests in the way that we eat, in the way that we live our lives. For instance, our determination is ruled by various modes of nature and so forth. He gives us enough so that we can understand and see for ourselves how we're being affected by the three modalities that practically rule the world. And he says that everyone's affected by these, not just human beings, but also the devas. There's not a being in the universe that's not affected and practically ruled by the modes of material nature. In fact, he says in the 7th chapter of the Gita, Daiva hi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mamevaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. That this divine energy of mine, made up of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. Then he says, one who is surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. And those who are progressive in the human form of life are interested in crossing beyond it. In other words, there's no real purpose to life. According to the Hitopadesh, there's an algebraic equation which says that animals and humans share these four things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. These they have in common. And what separates an animal, or a human rather, from an animal is dharma, a sense of a higher purpose, and the ability to ask the question, what is my higher purpose? Why do I exist? Where does everything come from? And if one doesn't ask these questions, if you follow the algebraic equation, then a human being and an animal are the same. No difference. Even if I engage in embellished eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. For instance, the crows that live near my house, actually, they don't have it so bad in California, because I noticed that during the midsummer, they have plums, and they gorge on plums all day long. And then when the peaches came out, they went after the peaches. Now they're having figs, and when it gets cold, they'll have persimmons. And there's not a time in California when they're not feasting on something. And I was thinking today how they have to work for it a little bit, but not that much. There's no consideration of insurance or storing it away in a 401k. They just go outside their little perch and they look down, and the fruit appears tasty to them, and they know where it is. They know how to eat. Crows know how to eat, I guarantee you that. They're omnivores. Of course, they'll eat anything. Squirrels, they're a little more discriminating. But they have no problem eating either. They don't really have an economic problem. And all the bugs in the yard, too, seem to be doing fine. They just crawl around, and their food is right there. So, more glorified eating, if somebody comes up with recipes, I mean, that's nice. But it's not the end of life. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Kamasya nendriya pritir labo jiveti yavata jivasya tattva jignasya narto yash cheha karmabi. Life's desires should not be aimed at gratifying the senses. Rather, you should take care of yourself very nicely, but only for the purpose of inquiring about the Supreme. In other words, you have to hold yourself together somehow. It doesn't take that much, and you don't have to do it in an overly elaborate. You don't have to do it in an elaborate way. Just enough so that you're healthy and you're in sound mind. And when you have that, then you have the strength to inquire about the Supreme. Use your energy for that. It requires a little energy to do that. Therefore, every yoga process recommends that you live according to what's comfortable for you. You have a certain lifestyle that you need according to your psychophysiological makeup. You're not asked to give that up. But you're also asked not to over-embellish. Don't do ati ahara. What's called ati ahara means Olympic eating. Like you're training for the Olympics. What are you doing? I'm getting ready because I'm eating. Some people, that's what they do. They overeat and they overcollect. Excessive eating, excessive collecting of things that you don't need are a weight on us, and they drag us down. Take what you need and leave the rest, and concentrate your mind on the higher purpose of life, which is inquiring about your dharma. And dharma means, what is my eternal purpose? So this requires, and is available to human beings in lifelong learning. All of you have various kinds of degrees, I'll bet. I'll bet my bottom dollar. Every one of you has some degree in something. And perhaps it's a 4-year degree. A little higher. Probably 6-year degrees, a lot of them. 8-year degrees you have. How about a 100-year degree? Anyone? Some of you have 4-year degrees though, right? 6-year degrees? PhDs out there, 8-year degrees? A few of you out there. 100-year degrees? We should aspire for the 100-year degree. What are you working on now? My 100-year degree. Because that's what we're afforded, hopefully. This is the idea. In human life, we get 100 years or thereabouts to cultivate what knowledge of why I'm here and what's the purpose of life. And amazingly, if someone sincerely asks this question, then the answers are forthcoming. They're naturally there. In fact, Krishna's waiting, eager to divulge the information. But it doesn't come by prying it open. It comes when one is submissive. If someone comes to your front door and just demands to know everything about you, you'll call the police. Or if they just walk up to you and they're a stranger and they try to investigate you without introducing themselves or making friends in any way, you'll feel offended. However, if your dearest friends who you trust ask you about your affairs, you'll probably tell them, right? Although only to the very closest of friends. So in the Gita, Krishna says, iti guyatamam, that this is a very confidential information system that I'm imparting to you. And I only give it to people that I trust. And that's what bhakti is. It's organizing your life so that Krishna trusts you. So he feels like this person is actually dedicated to me. The only thing is, you can't cheat, because he can see inside and out. Other people you can cheat. Like there's an old adage in Bengal about cheating on a fast day. When people fast on a fast day, it's kind of a badge of honor for some people. Like, did you fast? I fasted all day. But then there's drinking water underwater on a fast day. So you're not drinking any water. Everyone's fasting. They're not drinking water all day. Like we did on Janmashtami. A lot of devotees, they just didn't drink water all day long. Because we were busy. We had other things to do. So then someone might take a little shnan in the middle of the afternoon. They go down into the Ganga and put their head under the water, glunk, glunk, they start drinking. They come up and say, nobody saw me. But Krishna sees that. So it means deep integrity, that one has to be the same inside as one is outside. And when one is sincere and inquires from Krishna and submissive to his instruction, then he reveals himself. He gives clear knowledge in the heart of his devotee. Now, it's not actually a inconvenience to take up spiritual life, although it may seem like it in the beginning. It's actually an inconvenience to live in the material world in the first place. Because the material world, and this is part of what we talked about earlier when we said that we should have some deliberation. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he taught Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, asked them to consider the fact that the material world is wholly inconvenient. He said there are three kinds of miseries. Adhyatmic, adhibhotic, and adhidaivic miseries. That is, that our own body and mind disturb us in various ways. If it's not one thing, it's another. Can I get a yes on that? Yes. Okay, it gets worse when you get older. Then there's natural, the way the natural world, that we interact with the natural world. You might have a nice house, you put it all in order, and then a hurricane comes and knocks it down. Or in our case, an earthquake will come and rumble it down. Or just the process of time. You get a nice house, it was nice 30 years ago, brand new and nice, and now it's outdated. And you have to keep it up. Time tears everything about it and degrades it. And then there are other living entities that are constantly at us in various ways. People rub us the wrong way, living entities that attack us from within and without. So in this way, he said, there are threefold miseries that we always have to encounter in the material world. So the material world is an inconvenience. And therefore, he said, it's wise to understand that one way or another you're going to have some inconvenience in this world. So make your inconvenience for making some sacrifice in order to purify yourself. This especially was given, an instruction was given by Rishabhadeva, one of the great incarnations of Krishna. And he's talked about in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And you can read his instructions there in the 5th canto, 5th chapter. And they're very straightforward. He's speaking to his 100 sons, and he wants to get them ready for the world. So he begins by telling them that animals have an abundance of sense gratification available to them. He said, so it's not very important to get sense gratification. But he says, if you take a little inconvenience on yourself to try to advance spiritually, then he said, you can actually reach a level where you're never inconvenienced again. He said, Nayam deho deha bhajam nirloke kashtan kamam arhate vidbhujamye tapo divyam putrake yena sadvam shudyed yas mad brahma saukyam twanantam. Means that if you take austerity, he calls it tapo divyam. You know what tapasya is. You do some tapasya. It's a little inconvenience at first, but he says, tapo divyam, do some austerity that's divine. That means do it for Krishna. If you do that, putraka, you'll become purified. You'll feel it. And you'll come to a point where you'll feel unlimited happiness. And you'll go beyond the inconvenience of the material world. So how much do you have to go beyond the material world in order to experience this? Now Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, Brahmabhutah prasanatma nashochati nakankshati samak sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. He describes what it's like when you just peek out from the inconvenience of the material world altogether. This is a description of the symptoms of what is called Brahmabhutah. That means spiritual contact We're already spiritual beings, but now I'm in contact through my consciousness with the lower energy of the material world. But when one applies oneself in spiritual practice, one comes above the modes of material nature. One rises above them. And then these symptoms one will see for oneself. So first he says, prasanatma, you'll feel joy. You'll be overwhelmed with joy. Your mind will become happy for no apparent reason, because you are a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's Anandamayo Bhyasat. He's full of joy. Krishna is always joyful. When he's a baby, he's enjoying his pastimes in Vrindavan, his Leela. He's crawling around in the mud with his brother Balaram. And he's enjoying the company of his mother, Yashoda, and father, Nanda. And he likes to kill demons like Putana and Trinavarta and Shakatasura. And this is play for him. He's always happy. And he goes through his youth, his adolescence, all the time enjoying. So Krishna's always happy, and we are parts and parcels of Krishna. We're the same in quality as Krishna. That means we're full of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. That's our nature. That means eternity, knowledge, and bliss. However, when I'm covered over by the cloud of material energy, and I identify myself as a material entity, then I'm full of fear, and there's no happiness. There's only an attempt to negate the inconveniences of the material world. I hate inconveniences, don't you? It's one thing I hate, is inconvenience. So the only way to avoid inconvenience is to take inconvenience voluntarily, but do it for Krishna. And when you do that, Tapo divyam, putraka, you'll become purified. Yena sattvam shudyad yasmad brahma saukyam tvanantam. Then you'll be able to taste this happiness. Prasanatma, your mind becomes joyful. You feel happy that I'm not touched by the modes of material nature. I've risen above it. And then he says, Nashochati nakangshati. There's no more hankering and no more lamentation. You might want to go to the Brahmabhutah verse. Of course, I could jump back and forth to this verse. Brahmabhutah prasanatma. It's 1854, no? Yeah? 54. So, the last symptoms I mentioned, nashochati nakangshati, no hankering and no lamentation. The nature of hankering is that it never ends. When I'm in material contact, especially within the mode of rajas, which means the mode of passion, I desire many things. Now let me ask you, when you get the things that your mind tells you you need, is that the end of it? What happens after that, once you get it? And what about the things you just got? They get old? Or you start worried about them, like where am I going to keep it? And this starts wearing out. It wasn't good enough, and so forth. The things are useful. We're not against things. But hankering for things, thinking that they'll make me whole, is a mistake. And this is kind of hankering comes about when I'm in contact with the lower modes of material nature, especially rajas. But that's eliminated when I rise above the modes and I come to the spiritual platform. I feel no more hankering. I don't need anything. And no lamentation, which means that I'm not morose. I'm not worried about loss. For instance, when you have something and you lose it. I lost my wedding ring. Sorry, Nirkula. A long time ago. I was in Japan and I went on the Harinam Sankirtan. I was playing the mridanga. And your fingers get bigger when you're playing the mridanga. And then I put my ring on, but it didn't go all the way. I was walking through the streets of Tokyo and it fell off. And when you lose a ring in the streets of Tokyo, it's gone. It's just the way it is. But I didn't know if I lost it in the streets or in the van. I was traveling with Satyadeva Maguna and a couple other devotees. And we were off to the next place. So I was looking through the van, see if I could find it, thinking maybe it was lost in the street. Then Ma Guna started teasing me. She'll hold up a ring that looked like mine, said, "Is this it?" And I said, "Oh," and I said, "No, just kidding." But I was morose for a few minutes because I lost something. And when we are attached to something and something meaningful in our life and then you lose it, then the mind becomes morose because we get attached to matter. And when we're cut off from it, we become unhappy. And like relationships. Anybody here ever had a relationship? Father, mother, friends, kids? Yes? Of course, we're social animals. We all have relationships, and those relationships come and go. And when they come, we can feel happy for a while, and then we start feeling irritated perhaps, and then even after it breaks up, then we feel morose. Where did they go? I lament for the loss. Constant barrage of hankering. I'm always desiring something more, no matter what I get. For instance, you have an iPhone 10, or whatever they call it, X. And then there's something else coming out on Tuesday. Everyone's waiting so they can start hankering after the next thing. One of the devotees here who was making their offering the other day to Prabhupada said that he was wandering through the world collecting more and more material desires. He didn't say he was collecting more and more material things. He said he was collecting more and more material desires. It was our ace in the booth. Venudari, it's a very astute thing that Venudari Prabhu said. They're collecting more and more material desires. And how many? A couple? 3? 4? 5? Keep going. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thousands. There are thousands, tens of thousands of material desires. I keep collecting them. And these, according to the very technical aspects of the Vedanta, of the Yoga Sutras, describe how these are just input we get from the external environment. It comes from the outside. We see objects in the world and I think, I want that. And then I start to hanker for it. And then I get this impression in my mind, I have to have it. And then it gets stuck there. Krishna talks about it in the Gita. Dhyato vishayam pumsam te sangasteshu bhajayate. When you look at stuff, look at things, and you go like, oh, that's mine. I should have that. I'd really look good in that. Wouldn't I? Someone tells you, yeah, you need that. Then I start thinking, I have to have it. And I make a sangha with it. It's just a thing, but now it's my thing, and I have to remain attached to it. And I carry not 4 or 5, but thousands of those desires around within me. They're all wound up in my system. And they harass me constantly, day and night. They come and visit me. You got to have this, you got to have that. And whatever you get, too much is not enough. Even when you get too much, it's not enough. Ask any person, once you get a lot of wealth, you're just at the same place you were before. You're just there on the planet. And it's still dealing with all the other desires that are coming around. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't put the fire out. The only thing that does is rising above it and coming to the Brahmabhutah platform. There, no nashochati, nakangshati. No more hankering, no more lamentation. I know that the material world's changing constantly. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Matra sparshashtakontaya, shitoshna sukadukada, agama paino nityas, tam satikshashva bharata. He says that the winter and summer seasons constantly come and go, and so does happiness and distress in this material world. The world's always changing. And he says, become dhira, become indifferent to the changes. Don't overreact to them. Don't become overly attached. Don't become morose when you lose things. But use everything that's offered to you in dedication, dedicated service. This is Tapo divyam. This is divine austerity. It's to use the things that you already have for a higher purpose. Then you rise above the modes of material nature and you come to this platform where prasanatma, your mind becomes happy, actually joyful, and no more hankering, no more lamentation. And samak sarveshu bhuteshu, you see the oneness of all living entities. In the mode of passion, I see everyone as different entities. I discriminate. This is this is that. There's a hierarchy here in the material world. Nobody's equal on any level materially. You can do any kind of test you want. You won't find any one person that's equal to another, will you? In IQ, in physical strength, in artistic ability, any two people you measure, they're not equal. Of course, in America we say everyone was created equal, so what do we mean? What are we even talking about? It's something that we intuit, and it's actually a metaphysical claim that we're all equal, because there's no empiric test that you can do where you're going to show that people are equal on a material level. So it has to do with our inherent spiritual nature. On that level, we're all equal spiritually. And a person who rises to the spiritual platform begins to see the unity of all living entities. And when one sees the unity and actually feels unity with other living entities, Krishna says in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Atma pamyena sarvatra samam pashitiyo arjuna sukham va yariva dukam sa yogi paramo mataha. He says this person becomes the best of all yogis, because a person who sees the equality of all beings develops compassion for them and knows that these spiritual beings are undergoing the tribulations caused by their attachment to the material world, and he tries to help them. So Krishna says, welcome back, Sayogi Paramo Mataha, that this is the best kind of yogi that comes to this platform. So what are the symptoms? Number one, when one rises to the spiritual platform is prasanatma, means your mind becomes, you're totally disturbed all the time. You're in anxiety. What are you? Happy, joyful. You feel happiness. Second symptom, na shochati, na kanchati. What does that mean? No hankering, no lamentation. And samak sarveshu bhuteshu, then you see all living entities, you see the unity of all living entities. We're all parts of Krishna. We all come from the same divine source. Doesn't see the differences, and therefore is not envious of other living entities, because this envy derives from the material attachments I have. I'm thinking I'm living in a world of scarcity. There's scarce resources. Take an economics class, the first thing they teach you. Scarce resources, law of supply and demand, and that we're competing constantly. Darwinian environment, constantly competing. In fact, in the material world, it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, on the material platform, everyone's competing to eat each other. One living being is food for another. Ahastani sahastanam aparani chatushpadam. Palguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam. One living being is food for another in the material world, one way or another. It's a whole cycle going on. When you rise to the spiritual platform, then you escape that material platform and you come to the higher level. So how do you do that? Krishna says in the Gita, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahmabhutah yakopate. He said, perform devotional service. If you use what you have in dedication to Bhagavan, to Krishna, you offer what you have. You use it so you can live. You have a right to live comfortably. You don't have to live in a cave. You don't have to give up your style. But you do have to dedicate what you have, the resources you've been allotted by the Supreme, dedicate it back to Bhagavan. Give it to Krishna. And when you do that, and service to Him, then you begin to rise above the modes of material nature. And you come to the spiritual platform where you'll experience this. So now the question is, how much above the material platform do you have to rise in order to experience the spiritual nature, your own spiritual nature? How far above it do you have to be? At least that much. Just as in competitive, in sports, people compete. And there's an old saying that you only have to be 1% better than your competition. Have you heard this? Having people train, it's like if you run a 100-meter dash, and you are a tenth of a second, of course that's a lot, 100th of a second ahead of the next person that's behind you, then you win, right? By 100th of a second, just a little bit. You just have to be a little bit above. When material desires come visiting, they say, I'll be here forever and you're never getting out of this. Confirmed. This is our intermission break music. Hare Krishna. No problem, that was beautiful. But I did forget the last point I was making. 1/10 of a second, 100th of a second above competition. Just a little bit. Material world. Happiness, joyfulness in the mind. Sochati and akankshati. How much do you have to rise above? Yeah, I had another thought, but it'll come back. The material desires, they say, I'll be here forever, and you might as well give in because you're never going to get out of this. But Krishna says, if you invest in spiritual practice, neha bikramanashosti pratyavayona vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. He said, every tiny 100th of a second, every molecule of advancement you make is permanent. You'll never lose it. And you can move forward incrementally in spiritual life. And the moment you move even a fraction of an inch above the modes of material nature, you'll feel this relief from the material world and freedom to engage in devotional service. Mad bhaktim labate param. This verse says, once you come to the Brahmabhutah platform, now you're free to engage in fully dedicated service. Then the law of accelerating acceleration comes into play. As the more advancement you make, the more advancement you can make. And this is a great weight lifted off the shoulders of the eternal living entity who's been identifying him or herself with the land of birth and death since a time immemorial. And when one gets correct information from Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita through the disciplic succession, it's not skewed, it's presented as it is, one can then make a very informed decision about how to conduct one's life properly. And one can then gradually move to the point of coming above the three modes of material nature and have this experience for oneself, which is extremely encouraging. So this is the system for moving ahead. Now, some practical points. Make most of your progress early in the morning. This is a practical piece of advice that the scriptures give us, that there are certain times of the day that have a particular vibration. Every segment of the day has a characteristic. And the time during which one can most fully concentrate on one's spiritual practice, especially repeating the divine mantra and looking inwardly, is before the sun comes up. At least an hour and a half before the sun comes up is the time that there's a peace in the atmosphere. This is the recommended time. So if one takes the trouble, this is Tapo divyam I was talking about, divine austerity. Take the trouble to get up earlier than you're used to, and be prepared when you get up to focus your mind and do your spiritual practice early. Do it first before other competitors for your attention come in to your life and into your purview. Fortify your environment. Make sure everybody knows that you do a spiritual practice at a particular time and that you're off the grid at that time. And if you do that every day, you can have this spiritual experience a lot sooner than you might think. It's very encouraging if you're sitting chanting, for instance, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, with a sense of inquiry. Who am I, Krishna? How can I connect to you? Asking this question, why am I suffering? Please allow me to be your servant. These are all very natural ways to think when one's praying to the Lord and chanting His names. Then, if you're a little quiet, listen to the mantra instead of all the thousands of material desires that have somehow snuck into your ears and into the heart. And you'll notice that Krishna's there speaking the same message that He speaks in the pages of the Bhagavad Gita within the heart. And He's giving it not just information, but also encouragement. And if somebody does that and sees for him or herself that Krishna is there within the heart and has a transcendent experience, that person then develops determination to go forward in the practice of Krishna consciousness. The best evidence that Krishna exists and that we're His eternal parts and parcels, says Jiva Goswami, is our own personal experience. You can read about it and hear about it, but until you have your own direct experience, which Krishna advocates for in the Bhagavad Gita when He says, Raja Vijaya Raja Kuhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartumavyam. He says, this is the most secret of all secrets. It's the king of all knowledge. And he says it's directly experienced, and therefore it's the best kind of dharma. Pratyakshavagamam dharmyam. You can see it for yourself. You must see it for yourself. So early in the morning is the best time to perform your practice. Get a head start by practicing getting up earlier and doing your practice before the sun comes up, especially at least an hour and a half or a couple hours before. And you'll have a head start going into the day. And also it's very important to offer the food that you eat to Krishna. This is one of the principal practices of bhakti, because the tongue is the most demanding of all our senses. And it's also a gateway sense. You've heard of gateway drugs? People say, like, there's gateway drugs. There's certain drugs that you start taking them and then it opens you up to the whole world of drug addiction. Like, this was the argument in the 1960s. I said, marijuana is a great gateway drug. You start taking that, next thing you know, you'll be taking heroin and everything else, and you'll be dead in the sidewalk. So the tongue is a gateway sense. You indulge the tongue, then all the other senses want to get in the game. And they start getting agitated too. So the best way to control the tongue is to chant Hare Krishna, to use the tongue to enunciate the syllables in the divine mantra, the prescribed mantra, which is a spiritual formula, and also to eat those things that have first been offered to Krishna. And so if you have food, and I hope you all do, if you don't, come see us afterwards, first make an offering to Krishna. My dear Lord Krishna, please accept this apple. Please accept this mango. Please accept this sabji. I've made this nice sabji. You please accept it. You can offer it to Krishna by mantra. You can offer it to His picture. There are regulated ways that you can do it according to Scripture. But if you take the time, if you organize your cooking space so that first you offer to Krishna, before you offer to the family, before you offer it to yourself, you take a moment and make a prayer. Krishna, I made this for you. Please accept. Then you really start making advancement in bhakti. It's amazing, because this is the central feature of our lives, eating. We really like it, us humans. We like to eat. Everyone on a Friday night, if you go downtown, San Mateo, Burlingame, Palo Alto, everyone's out trying to see what they can eat as a basic thing. What do you want to do? Let's go get something to eat. When you go to somebody's house, what do? You sit and eat, right? You go to somebody's house and they don't feed you, you don't come back. So eating is a big deal. And fortunately for us, in Bhakti Yoga, it's a big deal too. Krishna likes to eat. He's constantly throwing a party when you're around Krishna. So it's fun to feed Krishna because he really knows how to eat. And he has the best taste. You can feed Krishna and he'll eat it all. And then he gives it back. Then you can take the remnants. And when you take the remnants of food, those things that were offered to Krishna, then miraculously your body, all the cells, your mind becomes transcendentalized and you feel happy. Prasade sarva dukhanam hanirasya prasana chetaso yashu buddhi paryavatishtate. Bhagavad Gita says, when you get the prasad of the Lord, then all your misery is killed. You ever had this experience? You feel really bad? Anything bugging you in your life, and then you get some nice prasadam and you go, all right, it's okay. Everything's fine. This happens to me all the time. In fact, so many times I've been on Sankirtan, I'd be on book distribution, and I either start getting tired or just the psychic energy of dealing with so many people, as sometimes uncooperative people, dealing with them, and then I just feel like, oh, I can't do this anymore, and it's only noon or 1 o'clock, and then someone, here's some nice prasadam. Here, have this, and you open it, it's beautiful, and it's like, wow. And you just go in samadhi, and you sit down, and you're just like, oh, this is so good, and you're talking to devotees, and then all of a sudden life looks better. You're like, wow, okay, I can still do this. You feel happy. Your mind becomes happy when you take prasad. Prasadi sarva dukhanam hanir. Your misery is killed by taking the Lord's prasad. Prasana chetaso yashu. Then the mind becomes happy. And buddhi paryavatishate. Your intelligence becomes steady. So this is the miracle of Bhakti Yoga, that if you take prasad, take Krishna prasad, don't eat other stuff, then your life transforms. Then you start thinking also, I'm offering this to Krishna, it should be kind of nice. It makes you clean up the kitchen, make sure you're clean, wash all your stuff. And then you might ask somebody, it's like, well, what is Krishna like? What kind of stuff? How does he like it? It's like, put a Tulsi leaf. Then you got to get a Tulsi plant. And maintaining a Tulsi plant in your house, this is one of the topmost practices of bhakti. You go anywhere in India, you'll find people, especially people who are devotees. Like in Delhi, you can go around, a little different vibration in Delhi than Vrindavan, but still, if you go to Delhi, you'll find, where the Vaishnavas are, one way or another, they keep a Tulsi plant alive. Even in the wintertime, they'll find the window spot, or you'll find Tulsi in the parking lot where the light's coming in. They maintain Tulsi. And the Shastra says, if you just see Tulsi, if you just touch Tulsi, if you just water Tulsi, then your life becomes charmed spiritually. It's so easy. And when you think about how to make Krishna happy, how to make a nice offering for him, you don't have to make a fancy offering, but the one thing that he does ask for is a Tulsi leaf. Put a little Tulsi leaf on there, then you have to go collect the Tulsi leaf. And when you take Tulsi, you'll see the beautiful manjaris that grow there. This is a transcendental existence. Now your house turns into a bhakti house. It's a little transcendental abode, because you've got your Bhagavad Gita, you've got your japa bag. You wake up early in the morning, chant a little japa, and you got some prasadam and you offer Tulsi leaf. Now, if you don't have a Tulsi leaf, you can offer dry Tulsi. And if you don't have dry Tulsi, then you can at least say Tulsi, because her name is so auspicious. You can say Tulsi, 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 and make the offering to Krishna. Or if you have a Tulsi stick, and you touch it with the Tulsi stick. These are bhakti practices that are right there in the Shastra. So wake up early, chant Hare Krishna, the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then offer prasadam, offer bhoga to Krishna, And just take Krishna Prasadam and then read Bhagavad Gita. Then your life is sublime. Confirmed. And now we'll take a few reflections. Anything you've heard so far that's stuck in your mind? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class. It's so nectarian, and thank you for taking us through that. So when you talked about the prasadam, especially during book distribution, we were thinking of Krishna Karuna Prabhu. So it'll be a difficult day sometimes a good day, sometimes very tiring day, sometimes sets don't go. But when Prabhu comes happily with prasadam, we all immediately become happy. And looking at the prasadam, and after eating, really we get into samadhi. And then Bhagavatam sets go. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's really true. And
yes.
Then last time we were with a group down in Haight-Ashbury, and they brought prasadam out. And there's always extra prasadam. Devotees always have extra. And there was some kind of hippies there on the street, and they looked over and they goes, "Hey, you have any more?" And then, we gave them prasadam. So they are over there eating prasadam, and we're feeling even more happy, when you see other people eating prasadam. So you can take prasadam and also distribute prasadam to others. Then you feel really happy. And Rupa Goswami says, out of the 6 loving exchanges that devotees have among themselves, these are 2, giving prasadam and accepting prasadam. And Prabhupada said, this is how the whole Krishna conscious movement started and is sustained, is by following the 6 loving exchanges, and definitely prasadam. So many of the testimonials we hear from devotees, we heard just recently, devotees who were speaking on Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, talking about how they became devotees. Like, I was going over there because they had nice prasadam, and next thing you know, hey, what are you doing hanging around here more? It's like, I don't know, Hare Krishna. People are transformed by prasadam. So when we distribute mass quantities of prasadam, then the whole world becomes happy. All the living entities become satisfied. So we should distribute as much prasadam as possible to people all over the world. Everybody should go away with prasadam. If you go to the bank, anybody go to the bank? Only 3 or 4 people. Okay. You go to bank, online banking. Well, let's say you go to the gas station, the bank. Where else can you go these days? Or is everything online? Gas station you have to go because you got to bring your car. Dry cleaner, car wash, grocery store, doctor. Bring prasadam. As it changes the relationship every time you go. If you bring some prasadam and you give it to them, then they become your friend. That's how you make friends. Living entities like to be fed. And if you take them a little something, they don't know it's prasadam yet, but you just give them prasadam, then they're like, wow, I'm a friend of this. This person fed me, I like them. I don't care what anybody else says, they fed me. So give prasadam wherever you go, and you'll find it opens a whole new world for you. And it's not hard, too, because everybody likes to get a little something. You take it out for them. Yes?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Last week, Krishna Dharma Prabhu, he took me around to different homeless shelters. We took a lot of prasadam, at least 11 trays of halwa from the temple. And each, at least 4 or 5 shelters we went. As soon as even before we could enter, we saw, like, so many people were there. They were thanking, thank you so much for your kindness. And when we entered inside, the office person, they thanked so much profusely. What to speak of just the food, it is the prasadam. So, yeah.
Find that section in the Antya Lila with Shivananda Sain. It's near the end of the chapter in the purport, where Prabhupada says about how everyone goes back to Godhead even without their knowledge, and that we should distribute prasadam. What other things? Yes. Oh, Shraddha, you were next. You did have your hand up a minute ago. Go ahead. Or you're looking stuff up.
Yeah.
Okay, you can, please go ahead. A question, yes. We need the tech department here.
The Brahmabhutah is one of my favorite shlok, and it's like a very high stage Brahmabhutah. So as you mentioned that if you get up in the morning and chant, slowly you can gradually purify mind and become like little bit more aware about Krishna and studying in the heart. But as a Gharastha, how can we reach a stage? It's like very challenging. I mean, you do feel like happiness and maybe that stage temporary, but how can we stay the stage of Brahmabhutah 24/7? Is it possible practically for Gharastha with so much attachment? If it's possible, I mean, it's a very hard stage, I personally feel.
Well, it doesn't matter what situation of life one's in. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Grihe tako bani tako shada hari boli tako. Whether you're a grihastha, you live in a house, or whether you're a sannyasi, you live in the forest, you still keep the holy name going. So every day you have to have some solid spiritual practice. And over time, it'll have a cumulative effect in your life. What's more, the kind of struggles that you go through in the Grihastha ashram are extremely valuable. Don't waste a good struggle or difficulties. They're actually very edifying. They make us grow when we're chanting Hare Krishna. The Shri Upanishad says, Vidyam chayas tadvedo bayam saha avidyayam ratum tirtva vidyayam ratum ashnute. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So as we're going through the struggles of our life, but at the same time we're chanting Hare Krishna, there's an enhancement of our spiritual life because of the backdrop of the struggle in the material world. And if you continue that process, you'll find one thing, that you're readjusted when you do take your spiritual practice. The chanting Hare Krishna and reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, you should hear from Prabhupada's books every day. It readjusts your intelligence and your mind. And as you pass through the various periods of your life, you'll notice that from sticking to the process, there's a systemic effect in your life, in the way that you interact with all your relatives, with the way that you interact with your livelihood. And Krishna makes all kinds of arrangements for those who continue to chant Hare Krishna. So the main point is that it's altogether possible and highly advised. Most people in the world are grihasthas, very few sannyasis. So it would be very impractical if you had to give up your hearth and home in order to become spiritually advanced. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's main followers and disciples were grihasthas. So it's not a disqualification. Rather, when you chant Hare Krishna, the backdrop of your life actually enhances your experience. So be consistent, and every gift that Krishna gives you in your practice is a permanent gift. It's never taken away. It's there for you forever. And at the end of this life, when you have given a lifetime of contribution to Krishna, that is something that will come to bear. We hear in the Sri Upanishad, Vayura Nilam Amritam Atedam Vashmantam Shariram Om Krato Smara Kritam Smara Krato Smara Kritam Smara. The devotee says at the time of death, let this temporary body be burnt to ashes, and let the air of life be merged with totality of air. Now, my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I've done for you. So, Prabhupada in the light of the Bhagavat says that this lifetime that we're in right now, of course it's very short, shorter than we think. he says, is a chaturmasya-like existence. Now in chaturmasya, you take 4 months and you perform some austerity. You only eat once a day, and only havishan. Havishan is mung and rice. You cook it, no spices. Anybody do this? Lose a lot of weight. And you only eat once a day, and you can only eat as much as you can take when you put the food on the floor, and you put your hands behind your back, you get on your knees, and you have to eat it off the floor. And as much as you can eat from the floor, that's as much as you get for the whole day. Chaturmasya. That's one of the austerities. There are a bunch of more. We just don't eat green leafy vegetables and yogurt 1 month and so forth. It's not a huge emphasis for us, but I'm giving this example because Chaturmasya is a 4 months of austerity. Could somebody do austerities for 4 months? Possible? It's possible. So when do you realize the results of those austerities in Chaturmasya? When you walk out the door again and it's over. Then you realize, oh, I've developed more capacity and so forth. So Prabhupada writes in the light of the Bhagavad that our lifetime is a chaturmasya-like existence. It's just a little brief flash, our human life, but it's so valuable. And the austerities that we're performing now, we may not see the full result of the austerity that we're doing right now. But develop your faith in the scripture. That's easy to do by understanding what is epistemology. Understand how you know what you know. How you get accurate information. There's a whole study, epistemology. Understand and develop faith in the fact that you're getting axiomatic truth from the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And then base your life on that and continue your practice and understand that when Krishna decides to provide the result, that's up to him, but it will come without any doubt. And if it comes when you leave this body, that's a great boon. In fact, that's the whole game in general. When Parikshit Maharaj was leaving the world, he asked, well, what should be my whole purpose? And Shukadeva Goswami says, Ante Narayana Smriti, that you prepare yourself so you can remember the Lord at the time of death. And that's all we're doing, practicing. It's a lifetime of practice. So remember, you're practicing for that final moment. And when you're prepared for that, then you win the whole thing. If you lose a few matches along the way, no big deal. You want to win the final match when you're leaving this world. So it all adds up. So keep on keeping on. What other things? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thanks for the wonderful class. I really like the point you said about Tulsi plant. Like maintaining Tulsi plant is a major aspect of practicing bhakti. And when I am keeping a plant, I realized that actually it's not easy to maintain a Tulsi plant. I mean, you have to notice her every day, and you have to fill her needs. So it's really nourishing actually, keeping a plant and worshipping, and it helps.
So you can bow down to Tulsi, water Tulsi, circumambulate Tulsi. You can sing beautiful bhajans to Tulsi. And a very simple thing, just maintain a Tulsi plant in your house. And if you chant, Prabhupada says in his purport in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, if you sit and chant before Tulsi, then you'll develop special bhakti powers. Your chanting becomes even more intense. These are inside secrets for bhakti practitioners. Keep a Tulsi plant in your house. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Prabhu.
Haribol Maharaj. You said that once you gain any spiritual credit, you never lose it.
Correct.
But at some point we were in the spiritual world and we came here, we definitely lost it. What makes it different this time that we won't lose it?
What makes the difference this time?
Yeah.
Well, you could say once burnt, twice shy. We're eternally students and we're eternally growing. And there's a glory actually for those living entities. According to the prayers of personified Vedas, the Lord's greatest pastime of all his leelas, his greatest leela is saving the fallen living entities from the material world and bringing them back to Godhead. So you're part of that, of his greatest leela. And in fact, those who are tested by the material world, coming out of the material world, they're glorified even more because of the fact that they've had to contend with the modes of material nature, and they did the impossible. They extricated themselves by taking the mercy of the Lord and getting out. So you're part of one of the great leelas that the Lord enacts. Okay, yes. And I have a purport that was passed on to me. This is from the story of Shivananda Sain, who adopted a dog when he was taking all the devotees from Navadvip to Jagannath Puri. Every year they would all go to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when they were walking together along the pathway to Jagannath Puri, which is a long way, many, many days and nights, a dog, street dog, joined them. And Shivananda Sain, being compassionate Vaishnav, fanned the spark. When he sees a living entity, wants to join in with the devotee, said, okay, he's with us. The dogs like that too. They join us so many times on our parikram. Of course, I told Mukarvin to feed him a little bit too. They don't mind that. But they came with us a few times. And you could just see, it's natural for them. They see a pack and they go like, okay, I'll join that one. And they like devotees, they jump in. So Shivananda Sain protected it. And he told the cook, you make him rice every night. Make sure he eats. And then when they came to the river where they all had to get on the boat and cross over, the boatman took exception. He said, you can't bring a dog on my boat. And Shivananda Sain gave him more money. And he let the dog go. So he was really taking care of the dog. And he told everyone else to take care of it. And then he had to go ahead to take care of the lodging for the devotees for the next night. And when he came back, the dog was gone. And he asked, did you feed him? And the cook said, I forgot. And after everyone saw that the dog had run away, Shivananda Sain became very morose, that they lost their new bhakta. And all the other devotees became morose. And then they went to Puri, lamenting that they had lost the dog. They went to see Lord Jagannath. Then they went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when they got there, they saw the same dog sitting in the courtyard in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was the Lord feeding green coconut pulp right off his plate to the dog. And he was telling him to chant Krishna Rama. The dog was Krishna Rama. And then that dog went back to Godhead. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada writes about this, that the context, Aradina kehotar deka na paila, shidda deha hoy kukur baikun te gila. The next day no one saw that dog, for it had obtained its spiritual body and departed for Vaikuntha, the spiritual kingdom. Purport. This is the result of sadhu sangha, consequent association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and promotion back home, back to Godhead. The result is possible even for a dog by the mercy of the Vaishnav. Therefore, everyone in the human form of life should be induced to associate with devotees. By rendering a little service, even by eating prasadam, what to speak of chanting and dancing, everyone can be promoted to Vaikuntha Loka. It is therefore requested that all our devotees in the ISKCON community become pure Vaishnavas, so that by their mercy all the people of the world will be transferred to Vaikuntha Loka, even without their knowledge. Everyone should be given a chance to take prasadam, and thus be induced to chant the holy names Hare Krishna, and also dance in ecstasy. By these three processes, although performed without knowledge or education, even an animal went back to Godhead. So this is the very simple process of bhakti, but very sublime. Anywhere that we go in the world as the Hare Krishna movement, and we do chanting, and we distribute prasadam, and we introduce people to Krishna literature, you find that it satisfies people's intellect. They feel happy to eat. It's a natural thing. And the chanting is an added thing they never thought of before. They like to go to musical concerts and things like that, but they never thought of actually getting a chance to sing it themselves and join in. So it's the perfect package. And the more that we expand that here in the Bay Area, the more all of Silicon Valley will take up the process of spiritual life through bhakti, because people really like it. And we can have the kinds of festivals that we have in the Lytton Plaza in many places around the Bay Area. Means that you can set up, as we did in front of City Hall, right, in Mountain View, and in San Francisco, and many different places. You can find an area where there's a flow of people, and you can set up a little mini festival after getting some permission, and distribute the holy names, books, and prasadam, and people will be happy. In fact, you can do it all over America, and people will appreciate it, and it'll be a completely happy life, a full-time occupation, making it a festive occasion for people. What are the reflections or questions? Yes.
So Maharaj, I was thinking about, you mentioned hankering and envy and greed. And so I was thinking about the first two verses from Ishopanishad. Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyan tena tak tena bhunjita. So you should just enjoy whatever has been set aside as a quota. So if we have that thing in our mind, then there is no need of greed or envy, like that.
Yes.
And then the next verse says, Kurvan eva karmani jiji vishe chatam samaha evam toi nan atyatyosti na karma niptatinare. So it says that then you can desire to do this for hundreds of years, 100 years, and you won't have any karma. So I was thinking like that's the 100-year degree that you were talking about.
Yes. Tena tyak tena bhunjita. You can see how Krishna sets aside for every living entity a livelihood, a particular quota. And if you accept that with gratitude and then go on with your practice of Krishna consciousness, then you can go on living for hundreds of years without becoming more and more entangled in the material world and fulfill the purpose of life. Other reflections? Yes.
I was thinking when you mentioned about what separates human from animal life is dharma, and you were giving the example, I was also thinking how birds build their nest without even doing any engineering, and
Yes.
and how we have to struggle and just build a home.
They didn't go to Polytech. Yeah, spiders are really expert, and birds are amazing. I saw two birds when I was staying in the Delhi guest house in New Delhi at the temple, and they were making a bunch of racket outside my window. So I looked out there on the air conditioning duct. They were building themselves a little condo. Male and female bird, and they get up on the balcony. It was way high up there, and they jump off, and then they float down together. I think they were in love. And they went to their little Home Depot. They each bring back a little piece of straw in their mouth, and then they contribute to their nest, look at each other, blink, 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 and then they jump off again, go down, pick up something, come back, a feather or whatever. And they knew how to do it. The other day I came into my office, I looked on the desk, there was a little spider. And I walked in and I looked at him, "What are you doing here?" And he jumps back and goes, "What are you doing here?" As soon as I came in, he looked at me like what? And I was like, he's just like me. There's no difference. The only difference is dharma, because he doesn't have the opportunity that I have to inquire about the Supreme. Otherwise, absolutely the same. You got the same needs. He's got the same worries. I mean, he was worried actually when he looked at me. He's like, "You're not going to exterminate me, are you?" I was like, "No, I don't do that to spiders. I like spiders, so you can feel free to hang out." And he goes, "All right, so cool," and he walked off. And so, but he's his interests are the same: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. As long as you just leave him alone, he's happy, and goes about his business, and he's perfectly fed too. It's like, "How are you eating?" It's like, "I don't know. It just happens." He's taken care of. No wallet, no Apple Pay, no watch, nothing. And he's equipped, and he knows how to build his house. He's got it down, and he knows how to get his food too. He's got everything equipped. That's tena tyaktena. It's set aside, bhunjita, for his enjoyment. He's got a little capacity, spider capacity to enjoy, and Krishna just awards that to him. So human beings all have that too. And people, when they become more progressive in their spiritual life, they rely less on their wits to try to organize their life so that they can be more and more materially comfortable. A modicum of comfort, fine. Be clean. You just have clean lines in your life. Make everything clean and nice and comfortable enough so that you can sit in there and chant and hear Bhagavad Gita. Don't get too much stuff. You get too much stuff, it overflows, and then you got to work on it. Something breaks, you got to fix it. Something else, attracts your attention. You get distracted. So you keep simple lines in your life so you can stay focused on the three main things: hearing and chanting. Chant Hare Krishna, read Bhagavad Gita, take Krishna Prasadam. A few little things like that, and then you feel joyful, happy. What else? Yes, Prabhu. Sundarananda. Okay, and then we have from the internet, I can tell, right?
I was just recollecting this verse, Prabhu, when you're talking about how we are not made equal in material life.
Yeah.
And there is envy because of the different levels that... so I was just remembering this prayer from Prahlad Maharaj, which I was just reading. Swasti astu vishwasya kalo prasoditam dhyayantu bhutani shivam mithodhiya manasya badram bhajata adokshaje aveshyatam no matir api haituki. So the translation is, may there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, for by accepting devotional service they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Shri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thoughts of Him.
Beautiful verse. Nice, right to the point. Thank you very much, Sundarananda Prabhu. Did you have a point? Yes.
So Srimad Bhagavatam 115, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, he says morning time is the best time for spiritual practice. Just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. So giving pramanam.
115.
115, that morning time is the best time for spiritual practice. So we mentioned that also. So start early in the day and to make your spiritual progress. Get a head start. Yes, and from the internet?
So this is in continuation with what we are discussing here. Start your thing early in the morning. So Prashant Kumar Gupta, who is watching you on the Facebook, he says, I'm fortunate enough to have your classes in early mornings, Brahmabhutah, because I'm from New Delhi, India. Hare Krishna.
Thanks for joining us. Hare Krishna. So now we're going to have some group chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And our band, see? Krishna supplies. So we'll chant Hare Krishna, and then just after that, we're going to have an artik ceremony, which is a beautiful opportunity to get up and dance for Krishna. This is a process that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced, that chanting and dancing. So when you dance before the deity and you clap your hands, then all of your accumulated desires and worries will fly away. And if you clap before the deities, of course, especially if you know how to clap on time. If you don't, then you can just dance. Then the lines on your hand that are telling your future, they're erased. Because karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. When you do bhakti, then Krishna takes away your karma. He transforms it. And whatever happens to you is by his arrangement for your purification. So this we'll get to try here too. That's why we got this place, because we noticed the dance floor. I like it's wooden. The marble's a little unforgiving. But wood, you can really let loose on here, right? And dance. We'll move everything out of the way so everyone has the opportunity to try this. If you don't like dancing, you can dance in your mind and dance in your heart. Just feel like you're dancing. But it is a bona fide process. I think sometimes people are trained when they go to temple to stand in one place, don't move, just see the deity, which is beautiful also. Any way that you approach Krishna is very nice. But they're not so used to the dancing. But it is something that is mentioned in Scripture, and that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught all of his followers. And Srila Prabhupada taught us also how to dance. In fact, I used to think, I joined the temple in San Francisco in 1973 when I was about 16, and every morning we'd wake up and we'd dance like crazy in Mangalartik. And I was thinking, who gets to do this at 4:30 in the morning, dance like this? And it's such an amazing lifestyle to be able to actually dance. I mean, not many people, people dance, but ballroom dancing, they have to take lessons first so they look good. Or if they go to modern dance where people are dancing to music, they're all self-conscious because they're thinking am I doing it right? Am I, do I look stupid? That's what most people think when they're trying to dance, in a materialistic way. And it's not uplifting. It's enervating in a way, or it only stimulates material passion. But dancing for Krishna is different. When you dance before the deity and try to please Krishna, then you'll find that your heart actually opens and your cares fly away. So Prabhupada taught us the Swami, where you put your hands in the air and you cross one foot over the next. And Prabhupada himself would dance. Sometimes he'd jump up and down, even though he was in his 70s and 80s. When at Rath Yatra in San Francisco in 1975, Prabhupada got up on the stage and started dancing, and the devotees went wild. They all started dancing. So it's a part of bhakti. And in the spiritual world, every gate is a dance. People are dancing there because that's what you do when you're happy. And there's no end to it all, to the happiness. You have to dance everywhere you go because you're happy. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. What are you starting on? C sharp. I think it's a little C sharp. Next one up, black key. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. more. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna everyone Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhaktavrinda ki. And now we're going to open up the dance floor. So we'll be moving all the asanas back to the back side of the room. And the ladies can be on this side, the men on that side. Yes? About what? And there's a mantra meditation booth just outside set up. We have a mantra meditation club here. For those of you who haven't joined the club yet, you can go outside to the mantra meditation booth and they have a free lesson in mantra meditation. If you wish, after taking a lesson, you can sign up. It's free. And you can be part of the group. There's dozens, hundreds actually here in this community that are chanting together at regular times, and it'll help you get on track with your morning mantra meditation. And also tonight's Arti Kirtan dedicated to His Holiness Gunagrahi Swami, who just passed away yesterday in Vrindavan. He was a great preacher of Krishna consciousness, disciple of Srila Prabhupada for many years, dear friend of mine. We'll all miss him very much, but he distinguished him throughout his life by continuing to teach Krishna consciousness all over the world. And up to the last minute, he was surrounded by loving devotees having a uproarious kirtan, and he ended chanting the holy names of the Lord as he left this world. So, and during the, just before our Nrsimha prayers, we'll also mention Gunagrahi Maharaj in our prayers, and also Yashoda Kripa's father passed away just yesterday also. And so we'd like to say a special prayer for Yashoda Kripa's father, and pray that Lord Krishna gives him shelter at his lotus feet. Thank you very much. Now let's put all the asanas away, and we'll stand up and have the Artik ceremony. Thank you. Hare Krishna.